Hello, welcome along to another episode of Soundtracking Extra, my little visual companion YouTube show that goes along with my podcast, Soundtracking. Now, sometimes we have guests that feature on the podcast, sometimes you get a little bonus of special guests who are specific to this. This week, however, we have a couple of ladies who have already appeared on a podcast episode, and I wanted to share them visually with you because I love them and I love the film. And anyone who's seen the film may recognize the t-shirt. Anyway, Emerald Fennell has written and directed an award-winning film, which is fantastic. Everything about it, I absolutely love. She's such a strong and unique voice and just has the balls to go there with the story and with the character that I feel no one has done prior to this. So it was a real treat to get Emerald Fennell and her leading actress, Carey Mulligan, together to talk about the film and to talk about their collaboration, because that's very much what it feels like in terms of this character, Cassie, and where she goes and how she's played and all that. So sit back. If you haven't seen the film yet, by the way, I would suggest that you watch the film before you watch this, because we do go into it in quite a bit of detail, and I would hate for there to be any spoilers for you. So I am giving you a spoiler warning now that there is information within this chat that may well spoil the film for you if you haven't seen it already. So pause, go and watch it now, and then come back and watch this chat. But I promise you that the film will be well worth it. It's extraordinary. They're brilliant. So sit back and enjoy my chat as much as I enjoyed it chatting to Emerald Fennell and Carey Mulligan.
Whisper something in your ear.
Good God almighty. You know, they put themselves in danger, girls like that.
It was a perverted thing to say.
You'd think you'd learn by that age, right?
Please lie down. What are you doing?
It's okay, you're silent.
What are you doing? Hey, I said, what are you doing?
This is great because you get to talk about music. And I know that music was such a big, well, it had to just kind of filtered through this whole process, really. Would you say that's fair?
Yes, definitely. For me, it's the main thing. So the first thing I do when I'm making anything is I make a playlist, and then I listen to it for 2 years. That's right in my head, and then finally, when it's all done, or at least it feels, it's close to done, then I write it down. So the music is the kind of beginning of all of it for me.
What does the music provide you with? What does it help you with in terms of, is it the lyrics, is it the melodies, the emotion, is it all of that stuff that kind of helps it, fall into the page sort of thing?
I really don't know, actually. Now that you've asked me that question, I think I genuinely no idea. It's partly because in order to do it, you can't do anything else. So I think usually it will be, I'll be listening when I'm between places or I'm going for a walk. So it's a time when I really have to focus. And it's not so much a lyrical thing. I think probably it is an emotional thing, because you start to, what happens after the millionth listen is you start to kind of, each song will act as a sort of, it will be the kind of moment for a particular scene. So then start to be, so when that song comes on, you think, okay, well, this is the one where I'm in the bedroom, this is the one where I'm outside in the, under the tree, whatever it is. And so that it's just kind of, and often having stuff on shuffle means, I don't know, just, it's a kind of daydreaming aid, I guess.
Yeah.
And then inevitably some things make their way into the script and then hopefully into the thing itself.
It's a lovely thing, I guess, with that journey, where it's something that was very much at the kind of birth of the whole story and the process to then make it all that way into the film.
Yeah, it's so nice. And it's so like, obviously this film was very much on an independent budget, but we were so lucky to have the best people in the world, Sue Jacobs and Capitol Records, who just kind of got songs that I never thought we'd get. I mean, I think the Rodgers and Hammerstein estate letting us use the King and I's original recording of Something Wonderful it was just huge because that stuff is so hard to get, and it's so important when you've really. I'm pretty flexible in general, but there are a couple of moments in this film, Paris Hilton, Stars Blind, and I just couldn't change.
We'll get into that. I've got so many questions around that particular scene as well. But Carey, I'm assuming that Emerald shared this playlist with you, and at what point did she share the playlist, and how much did it help you? I guess. Well, tell me, did it help you understand Cassie and I guess maybe the tone of the film and anything else about the film?
Yeah, I think Emerald sent it to me maybe a day after I read the script. So I read the script, got the playlist, and met Emerald 2 days later, in which time I'd listened to this playlist and was playing Boys Charlie XCX by that evening to my daughter in the bar. She just happened to hear it. She was like, she's 5. She was 3 then. She was like, play Boys again. So it was I loved the playlist just as a fan of kind of pop music, and I was like, I just loved it, and it added so much context to the script. The script was so specific and so brilliant, and very funny, but this added a whole other layer to it, and it was just so witty, and so yeah, I loved it. And actually, whenever I work, I always make a playlist for.
Do you?
Yeah, so like whether it's a theatre thing or if it's a movie, I'll make a playlist of music, and I often will attach some significant meaning to a couple of songs, and I did for this song. There was a Vampire Weekend for this movie. There was a Vampire Weekend song that wasn't on Emerald's playlist, but when I added onto it. And it's sort of, so to actually have one given to me straight off the bat, it became like a massive part of the whole thing. I was driving around LA with my windows down listening to Stars Blind.
But I think that's the brilliant thing. The film is I said to you guys last night, it's a phenomenal film, and I love how you've kind of got no idea where it's going. And I think the music really complements that as well, in terms of it provides light relief, or it just accentuates something, or the music has so many purposes, I think, within the context of the film. And there's some very funny moments as well, like in the cab with Spice Girls 2 Become One, and yeah, just but it's so clever, It's like I just stuck up an Instagram live thing of a picture of like Trump leaving the White House with the Stone Roses Bye Bye Bad Man, and it's the way that kind of music can say everything you want to say, almost, in a way.
Yeah, and it can undercut things too. I mean, it's so important to everything, especially if you don't have very much time or money or all things when you're making your first thing. Every single detail can mean so much. And I think the thing about being in the back of a cab after a night in the club, when you're leaning outside of a cab, trying not to throw up, desperately kind of sipping the air, we've all been there. But, it's always, if you're in England, it's Magic FM, and it
absolutely,
air supply or whatever it is. It's something completely incongruous. And so 2 Become One is again one of my all-time faves, and it just felt. Yeah, it felt like a sort of delicious addition to that whole conversation, and it just felt so reminiscent of that kind of 3 a.m. car journey.
Or that one where you're on your own and it's like either Heart Alone or All By Myself. It's just kind of,
I have tried to do Hearts Alone on karaoke, and I have never learned that there's the key change in there that is not even remotely within any range I've ever had, and I have never learned.
When you with it, I learned last night, I couldn't believe you had, was it 3 weeks prep you had?
Yeah,
that's insane. And then 20 odd days shooting.
We had 23 days shoot.
Wow. So when you have to clear a song like the Paris Hilton song, which is within the narrative and is a brilliant scene within the film in terms of this kind of connection between these two characters and the and this kind of emotional dance that they're kind of doing funnily in this shot, you have to clear that, you have to get that in there. And having sort of 3 weeks to do it in, I imagine slightly, squeaky bum time and just kind of trying to work out. Yeah.
Well, I think that what really helped was that, again, Susan Jacobs, who's the music supervisor on this, she's probably the most famous music supervisor in the world. She's just one of those like iconic people. And most recently she did like things like the Big Little Lies soundtrack that just like was incredible. She's just really clever and really well respected and lovely, and she's got a knack for getting the impossible. So she was just brilliant for that. But for Paris Hilton, I just wrote her a letter, and it was an honest letter saying, I love this song, I really can't, there's just no other song that will do in this moment, please let us have it. Thank God she did, because I honestly can't, I don't know what would have been there instead, but it wouldn't have, I just don't think it would have been nearly as good.
Yeah. How well did you know the song beforehand, Carey? And because it's one of those songs that comes on the radio, you kind of instantly don't even realize that you know the words to it, but you find yourself singing along. But when in the context of this film and having to perform it in the way, and I imagine you have to do it quite a few times with Bo, what's the kind of, you just kind of learning it back to front, forward to back, all that kind of thing, and deciding how you will deliver it as well, because it's a kind of, it's almost like watching a nature program, when you watch animals and they're almost kind of sort of flirting with each other a bit, the little feathers go up and all that. It's a bit like that. It's really brilliant. But yeah, tell me about the song and kind of preparing for that particular scene.
No, I mean, I did know it. I didn't know every single word, but I knew it. And I, as I said, I had been driving around LA with the windows down playing it, just having. It was funny because on the day, I mean, Bo and I had only known each other for like, it was our third day of filming together or something, and I had been quite kind of gung-ho about it. I was like, "Come on, Bo," and he was like, "Oh, this is," he was kind of really sort of grumpy about it. And I was like, "Oh no, it's hilarious, ha ha ha." And then we got in there and I immediately clammed up. In the first 2 takes, I just sort of stood there kind of glaring at him, and Emerald came over and I was like, I just don't think Cassie would do it. I just think she's too cool. I think she just wouldn't. I think she'd just sort of, disregard the whole thing. And Emerald was like, "Oh, come on, stop fighting behind your character. That's ridiculous." When people are in love, they do stupid things and, act like idiots. And, you have to enter into this with that spirit. So then I did. And yeah, I mean, it was really fun. We did have to do it a number of times. And I think the worst version was when, because the first couple of takes, they were playing the music loud in the pharmacy. So you could make noise, and it sort of felt like, everyone was in on it. And it was also really hilarious and charming for the first couple of takes to the crew. And then by like take 5, when we were the only ones who could hear the music because we were just like, earpieces, and the crew, like, was just so it just wasn't so hilarious anymore. So yeah, but no, it was great. It was a very bonding experience for Bo and I. It really brought us together.
I almost think karaoke sessions are the best bonding experiences ever. Throw a pile of people who have to work together in a karaoke room for a couple of hours, and it's just, there is something about that, losing your inhibitions by belting out, Beyonce's "Crazy in Love" or whatever, personal favourite, with the Jay-Z rap, but there is something about that, kind of like you say, about when people are trying to, I don't know, there's something about singing and about the performance element of it when it's a relationship type of thing that's really cute to watch as well. It's amazing.
It's like the first thing that you do when you're kind of falling in love with someone. Like when you're a teenager, you make them if you're my age, a mini disc. That technology that was thought would go forever. Thought really went hard in the.
We figured out how to do them many days.
But you make stuff for people, and part of the way that we communicate with each other is like, what music do you like? Who do you listen to? All that stuff. And so much of us as humans is actually hiding who we are and what we really like. And so when I made my mini discs, they were always full of songs I invariably didn't really like, but I thought would, be impressive to, bloke number whoever, whatever. But what's so charming, I think, in this, and what's so kind of important, is that it's about somebody, Ryan has kind of very little, he's the opposite of Cassie, really. He's lived kind of a charmed life, so he doesn't have to feel like he has to hide himself. He doesn't, he's comfortable being embarrassing. And that's so beguiling, because it's so, if somebody made you a mixtape and it was like full of Paris Hilton and Britney Spears, you'd just be so thrilled. But it wasn't, I'm trying to think of what's cool. I don't even know what's cool anymore. Some cool old guy. I don't know. It's 16 or someone who I think is very cool and great, but like there's a certain type of person that people are like, I love this. And it's a little, I'm going to teach you about music, my love.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, it's like Nick Cave versus Paris Hilton type vibe. And
except though I would say that Nick Cave is the exception that proves the rule, because I am obsessed with him, and I once in a shop and I wanted to say that I loved him, but instead I went outside and burst into tears because I was so so that was
I love that. That's amazing.
It was really quite recently.
The other thing that's brilliant on the other side of the music is how the Anthony's score, and how that absolutely brilliantly complements all these fantastic songs, and also the choice of the versions of songs as well, like the remixes or the version of Endless Love and all that kind of thing is really clever. But with Anthony, how did he come to score the film, and also what did you ask of him? Because they have to complement and not totally jar where the score and the cue comes in, whether that's when she's smashing the windscreen or saying no to the hitman, or there's some really particular moments that really resonated.
Well, Anthony's just amazing, and it's really hard trying to find someone. The score is really difficult because it's so instinctive that people have a response to it, and often they don't, understandably, because composers are very, their time's very valuable, but people often won't temp for you. So you have to sort of trust that they'll do the thing you want. And I think for this film, I really, really wanted almost the opposite of maybe what you'd expect with, there are a lot of like synth heavy soundtracks now, which I love, but, lots of things that feel more sort of this time, but I really wanted an old fashioned Hitchcock theme, really, or a Spielberg theme. And so that's what I said to Anthony, and because he's got such a strong kind of orchestral background, and he sent me just this theme that he'd been thinking in his head, like literally just kind of put it down and sent it to me. And after that, I just couldn't really get it out of my head. And it was so beautiful because he called it Nina's theme, because he felt that there was always this sort of ghost under every scene. And so every single moment of the score is a variation on the theme. So when Cassie's with Ryan, it tends to be kind of piano soft, and then it's very kind of sort of scratchy strings when it's thriller mode. Yeah, he's just exceptionally talented, and also again, did it in like a day practically. Poor man was, not literally, but a few weeks pretty much. Like it's everyone just, it's incredible.
That's amazing. I think it's but I think sometimes when people are, when you're not given months and months to do things, and you kind of immediately connect to something emotionally, then sometimes, your best work can kind of be delivered in a very short space of time, really.
I definitely think sort of smoke fills a vacuum. And so certainly for me, actually, weirdly, the idea of, not that anyone would necessarily offer, but the idea of making a movie for $200 million with a year to make it sort of makes my blood run cold, because there's so much opportunity to second guess yourself, so much opportunity for pontificating, changing your mind, reshooting things. That stuff is kind of it knocks the wind out of the sails. But obviously one more than we had, because it was so short. But I think there's a probably happy. Talk to me in a year. I'm like, $1 billion. It's set underwater. 5.
Oh, I can't wait to see what you do next, because just talking to you, you're just so great with words as well, and the film just looks It looks incredible. It just looks so sexy, but it's emotional, and it just hits every beat just so brilliantly. You've done an amazing job with this film. Before we quickly go, Carey, I just wanted to mention, because we had the absolute pleasure of speaking to Steve McQueen, and we talked at length about your performance in Shame, about your singing performance in that, and it was incredible to hear him talk about how you kind of, well, how as your director he saw you get there, and how powerful and perfect it was as well. Do you remember much about that at all?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember it. It was so scary.
Scary's good sometimes though, isn't it?
It was always good. Scary is always good, I think. I mean, Promising Young Woman was terrifying. But yeah, it was always going to be a single take. I always knew that the camera was going to be close. And I was sort of, I'm like a choir singer level. So it was obviously something to, in terms of prep, that was it was just, I did singing lessons and I think Steve had a very clear idea of the feel of it that he wanted. But yeah, it was sort of, I don't think there's anything quite like singing live. There's something so exposing about it. You kind of can't hide anything. And the only other time I've ever had to do anything, I mean, I've filmed stuff before, but I did a concert for Inside Llewyn Davis for the Coen brothers, and they invited all the musicians and then me to sing songs from our film and other songs sort of. And I ended up singing a song with Gillian Welch and Rhiannon Giddens from Oh Brother, We're Out There. I've never been so scared in my life. I just didn't know what to do myself. And I think there's something about opening your mouth and a melody that is just, it's like looking straight into your soul. It freaked me out. And I think that was kind of perfect for Sissy, because she's laying all her cards on the table in that scene. So
yeah,
a clever choice of Steve. But he's just such a genius, mad genius. And in the same way that so much of our work together on this was just Emerald and I talking constantly about Catherine. And that was similar with Steve. We talked about Sissy for months before we started shooting. So yeah.
Amazing. Listen, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for chatting to me. It's so brilliant to get to dive into the music, and I really hope that you guys are going to work together again soon, because the kind of chemistry of your creative minds is fantastic. And thank you for your time, Carey and Emerald. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Why do you guys have to ruin everything? We were kids.
If I hear that one more time, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was hoping you'd feel differently by now.
It's every guy's worst nightmare getting accused like that.
Can you guess what every woman's worst nightmare is? I wanted to be a doctor my whole life. Lately, I've been feeling like I might want to get back into it.
I mean, I genuinely could have sat and chatted to them for hours about the film. And I do hope that this is the first of many films and collaborations that they have together. It'd be fantastic to see where they go. There's that thing that you get, there's so many male directors that have their kind of male leading men that they've used time and time again. Scorsese is a great example with De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. So I think with Emerald, it'd be amazing to see that relationship with Carey develop over the years and where they can go and what they can do. Oh, that's my mum. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you so much for choosing to watch the show. If you want to subscribe, that would be great, because then every time we drop a new episode, which to be honest is quite sporadic at the minute, it will pop into your inbox. In the meantime, please do go and make sure you subscribe to the podcast and listen to the episode with Emerald and Carey. Head to edithbowman.com or search for Soundtracking on your usual podcast provider. Also, I should point out that today, May the 17th, cinemas are open. So go forth and enjoy and keep the industry afloat. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.